What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben, your host, and I'm the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, where I help restoration business owners get more sales just by getting their internet marketing right. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about website traffic, right? If you own a restoration business, you need to have a website, right? The nature of how people are finding your business has shifted significantly in the last few years, if you haven't noticed already, and more people are jumping online to find products or services, especially in emergency property damage restoration and any other service-based industry. Now, let's face it, you can't hide from the numbers. Somewhere around 96% of people pick up a device or get on their computer when they're looking for a new product or service. And that number increases significantly when you look at mobile devices, and even more so when you look at how people are finding what you do. And then you have to put yourself into their shoes, right? Oftentimes, property damage, it's an emergency type situation. They're not going to go kicking around and like vetting out different companies. They're going to go on their phone. If they don't have power, they're going to go on their desktop computer. If it wasn't a storm, they're going to search in property damage contractor near me, or water damage restoration, or flood damage restoration, or any iteration of that keyword that's going to get that traffic to your website. And that's wonderful. A lot of the clients that we have, a lot of people we talk to when we do our free video analysis, have a decent amount of traffic going to their website, but they're still complaining that they're not getting leads, which raises quite a concern, right? So a lot of times people have an immediate need for your service. So why are they going to your website and not picking up the phone and call and turning into leads? And that becomes a conversion issue. All right. So a lot of times when you guys out there are thinking, hey, we need better web traffic, we need better SEO, we need to do things completely different, we need to switch marketing companies, we need a new guy here. You're not really looking at the numbers, and you're not looking at the data to make an informed decision on your marketing. Right. Stopping marketing or switching gears is almost like taking the batteries out of your watch to save time. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you really need to dive into the numbers and dive into the data and really understand traffic and how people are finding you. But you have to take a step back first before any of this starts. If you've listened to this podcast in the past or had listened to any of the ones with our guests on it, I'm a big proponent against being a box checker. It's not really a negative thing, but it does negatively impact your business at some point if you're simply just getting a website because you think you need to have a website. Or you heard me in the beginning of this saying, if you don't have a website, you're living under a rock, and you just go get a website built. Well, there's a lot more to it. For all the guys that are DIY, I commend you. For the people that have gotten my book and built their own website and done their own SEO, that's awesome. But this is a highly specialized type of service, search engine optimization, that's constantly changing. So you really need to be aware of, number one, your information, your data, and really understand what your analytics are telling you. Okay. So a couple things, back up a little bit. The first thing that a lot of people miss out on is understanding who it is they're trying to sell to. Yes, you have the generality and you have the blanket statement saying, well, we just want to get water damage leads, or we just want mold leads, or we're just doing indoor air quality testing or mold testing or whatever. And that's wonderful. Good. It's a good first step. But that's like having a goal saying, I want to be a millionaire one day. Well, there are a lot of systems and processes that you have to implement and mini goals in between, and you have to have a plan to get to that $1 million. Are you going to be saving 10% of your paycheck every week for the rest of your life? Are you going to be going to the beach with a metal detector looking for gold? Like, how are you going to get that $1 million? And in terms of your restoration business, how are you going to get those leads in? Now, part of that is understanding who you're trying to sell to, right? So you already know that it's people with property damage, or let's say it's water damage restoration. And then you need to position yourself with an authority type content to be able to not only get those top level rankings on search engines and in the map section and run pay-per-click ads, but you need to be speaking to those people that you're trying to get, your avatar or your potential client, on your website with your content, right? And if it doesn't, guess what? You can send as much traffic in the world to that website as possible. And you're not going to be converting, and you're not going to be getting leads. And the first thing a lot of people do is they back up and say, well, my SEO is not working. And you've got an SEO agency working for you, and they might be doing a great job. Oftentimes they're not, and they're missing some things here, but there's a good amount of people that don't understand the analytics. And when they come after their SEO, they're not really understanding. And this agency is probably sitting back saying, look, you have a ton of traffic. We're not your web developer, or whatever the case may be. Or you don't want to spend more money and change up some things on the website based off their input. So you're left with starting completely over, going to another agency, or like a lot of people out there having a bad taste in their mouth and just not doing SEO anymore, which is not the right way to do it. Any semblance, any little bit of traction you can get with search engine optimization, anything is better than nothing, right? It takes a lot of little pixels to make up the big picture. So understanding who you're trying to sell to is square one, right? And you got to make sure that your website speaks to that person. Now, you have a website, you've got the content on there, you think you're talking to your right avatar, you're still not converting. So there's a few things, the basics in conversion, right, on your website that you want to make sure that you have going on. Number one, you want to make sure that there's such thing as a buyer's journey, right? So somebody has property damage, they do a Google search, they end up on your website, and now you make it really difficult for them to get in touch with you. The one big thing that we see a lot is they don't have a mobile optimized website. So if you don't have a mobile ready website, you need to do that right away. Not only are most people finding you on a device, I mean, we're all buried in our phones nowadays, but Google won't even index your website if it's not mobile responsive. So if any of the guys out there are DIY and you're on Google Search Console and you notice that you're seeing errors with mobile usability, you need to address that right away, because that is going to hurt your rankings and it's eventually going to hurt your traffic. And it's just a snowballing effect. So mobile ready website is a non-starter. If you don't have that, stop listening to this and go listen to another podcast, or go to Ironclad Restoration Marketing's YouTube. And I show you a little bit why and how you do it, or get my book, or hire a WordPress developer, or hire an agency. Get a mobile ready website. I can't say it enough. Number two, the other thing, you make it hard to get in touch with you, right? So you guys have some baller website developer, your nephew or whatever, you found some guy on the side of the road to build you a website, and that's great. If it comes out right and they built it on WordPress and all the foundational elements are there, but your user who has an immediate need, and in the microwave society we live in, if you make them wait too long to figure out how to get in touch with you, they're going to bounce off and they're going to go to the next guy. So when you're looking at analytics and you're looking at your data, that's a big number and a metric that you need to be monitoring quite closely. And I mentioned before, you can send all the traffic in the world to your website, but if it's not converting, it's worthless. Right? There are people just visiting your website. Well, that's going to tell you if you're sending 50 or 60 organic search sessions to your website every month. And for people who don't know, organic search or an organic visitor to your website is somebody that searched on a search engine and ended up on your website directly from a search engine. That's a very valuable lead. That's somebody who's qualified, looking for water damage or mold or fire, and then ended up on your website that's never been there before. So you want to really get those guys, right? So if you're noticing consistently in your analytics and your SEO agency or your marketer in-house, whatever the case may be, saying, hey, we're sending 30 to 60 to sometimes I've seen 300, 400, thousands. I mean, we've sent tons of organic traffic, and you're still saying, man, I'm not getting these calls. What are you guys talking about? Well, it's pretty easy to see if you have access to Google Analytics and they're legitimately showing you analytics, which is a completely another topic. If you don't have access to your own Google Analytics, I implore you to get it, or make sure your agency is showing you snapshots. There's no way to hide from those numbers, right? You set a date range and you want to look at organic traffic. It's going to tell you exactly how many people went to your website, how long they spent on your website, etc. So let's say you know and you have access to your Google Analytics and you're looking at a metric, and what we want to look for is something called a bounce rate, right? This is the percentage of people that don't look past the first page of your website that they ended up on. And we want to try to look for a bounce rate under 60%. Right? You're going to have people going to your site. I mean, and obviously you want to get that bounce rate down to next to nothing. And that's where we talk about conversions. So high bounce rate equals less conversions, lower bounce rate equals more conversions. And we want conversions. If you have 60 people coming to your site consistently every month, and you fire your SEO agency and you get another SEO agency and they increase that to 100 visitors now. And now they've almost doubled what our visitors are. But guess what? Your phone's still not ringing. You have a conversion issue. It's not a traffic issue. So wouldn't you rather convert a higher percentage of those 60 people that are going to your website on a consistent basis versus just adding more volume? So it's almost like a grocery store, just, putting an aisle of stuff not really many people buy. They just walk by, and then filling every single aisle with that item, hoping that they bombard them so much that they're going to end up picking one up. So yeah, we made a sale, but guess what? We had to send 500 extra people to your website to get that lead to come in. And that's kind of a backwards way to think. Obviously, you want as much traffic as you can get into your website, but you really want to concentrate on converting a bigger percentage of that. So back to the basics. I mentioned you don't want to make it hard for somebody to get in touch with you. Okay. You don't want to make it hard once they get to your site, right? You have somebody with money and they're saying, I'm ready to buy. And then you're like, whoa, 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 buddy, you fill out this form and I'm going to need you to wait a few minutes there. They're going to go right to the next guy that's got something waiting for them where they can make that exchange right away, especially when it comes to some sort of catastrophic property damage and need somebody to come right now. So you want to convert more traffic. You have to make it easy for them to get in touch with you. Now, the first thing that we'll look at from like a nerd perspective is we're going to look at your website loadings time, right? If your website takes a long time to load to get to that homepage or whatever page they're visiting, they're going to go right off to the next guy. People don't want to wait. In fact, Google put a huge emphasis on this last year with a major algorithm update on page speed and user experience. Guess what? That is directly tied to conversion percentages. So you may think Google's a big bad wolf and they're always bullying and they're like the end all be all, but they are. And really their intent is to give a better experience for their user base. They want to connect the right people with the right product or service in the easiest way possible. And that's why us as marketers, digital marketers, and you as business owners need to play by the rules, because it's not only going to get you better results and make you more money, but it's actually serving your client base or your potential client base better. So I never want to hear anybody talk bad about Google, any of their algorithm updates, because if you're doing things right, you're going to come out on top of it. You look at an algorithm update like getting dunked underwater in the middle of the ocean, right? And if you know how to swim, you're going to eventually bob back up to the top. But if you don't, you're not doing things right, and you got your pockets full of lead, guess what? You're sinking back down to the bottom. So all that aside, a little rant aside on algorithm updates, you want to make sure that it's very easy to get in touch with you, and page load time, page speed, and user experience are step one, right? So go to your website. I mean, look at yourself in a mirror, hold yourself accountable, go to your website. Does it take a long time to load? Well, then you probably are going to have issues converting traffic because people aren't going to wait. So, that can always, boil down to the beginning, which would be hosting, your web hosting. You got to take a look at that. We have a good partner hosting company that has an SEO optimized hosting platform. It's a lot cheaper than the big guys out there. And I know for a fact that it works much better. We're getting nice 99, 98 in the 90s page speed insights when we do these scans that Google offers. And by the way, outside of just going to your website and seeing how fast it is, go to Google Page Speed Insights. Go to google.com and just search for Google Page Speed Insights. They actually have a tool that you can put your website URL in, and it's going to scan it and give you a score. It's going to give you a score on your mobile site and your desktop site, and it's going to tell you exactly how you're doing. All right. And you can't hide from that. That's straight up hard, solid numbers. So I don't care what your web developer's saying. I don't care what your SEO agency is saying. If you're getting a bad page speed score, you're going to have an issue, not only ranking, but you're also going to have an issue with conversions in the real world. All right. So take a look at your website. Again, make sure it's mobile optimized. Make sure that it loads fast. Your images are loading fast. You don't have some autoplay videos or music that's going to piss people off and make them go off your website. Check on the Google Page Speed Insights. And if it's bad, it's not that hard to fix. There's plenty of plugins if you're using WordPress that'll help speed it up, web caching, minifying your images and things like that. And they'll give you a waterfall of what's causing your site to load fast or slow. And if it's hosting related, then you have something to hand to your hosting agency and say, hey, we need to fix this, or you move on. All right. So let's say you've got good page speed. You've got they're saying your UX is okay. You have a good mobile site. You're still not converting. So you got to make sure of a couple things. One thing a lot of people are looking for now, given the fact that they're coming from a mobile device, is you want a clickable phone number everywhere. You don't want them to escape that phone number. So a lot of times on our websites that we build, and you'll see this if you check out Ironclad Restoration Marketing's Instagram, we do website showcases. Sometimes we'll show the mobile version of it. The first thing that we want them to see, right, we call it above the fold. Okay, so if you're on a desktop computer and you Google search something and go to somebody's website, it's whatever they see on that screen without having to scroll. So a lot of this is common sense. You want to make sure you, one, have a good professional looking logo. That's a good first impression. We like to have the services listed above the fold, right? Water, fire, mold, smoke, whatever the case may be. We want a clickable phone number right there on the top right, big, pronounced, so they know that they can get in touch with a 24/7 call. We want a USP. We want a unique selling proposition, right? Do you offer 24/7 service? Do you have licensed and bonded, technicians, whatever the case may be, whatever your USP, whatever makes you better and makes you the right choice. You want that right in front of their face. You have just a millisecond to capture them. All right. They're already there because they're qualified. They're already there because there's a good chance they need property damage restoration. So don't make it hard and sell them right there on the spot, right? Tell them why you're the best option. List your services above the fold. Have something relative to your avatar. It may be a picture of somebody with water damage in their home. It may be, you and your team, because it's very important for you to build trust with your potential clients. So you and your team showing off who you are as the owner. Videos really help with conversion. Whether or not you put them above the fold is really up to you. We really got to cover the basics before you worry too much about that. A contact form right there that they can get in touch with you. Some people are at work. Maybe they just saw some mold on their way out the door and they can't pick up the phone and call you right away, but they want to fill out a web lead form. Don't neglect that, right? And if you can handle it, if you have somebody in-house that can do this, get a live chat on your website. It's a great way to funnel leads into your business, okay? So those are just the basics of conversion. You got to make sure that you're mobile ready, your site is fast and loads well, you have a good user experience, and you have the most important information above the fold. Now, the important information above the fold changes a little bit on a mobile device, right? You only have so much real estate on a cell phone, right? It's only this big. So you want to make sure that the most important things are there. One, you name your business and logo, what you do. We are a property damage restoration contractor in X city. Click here to call. 24/7 emergency service technicians are standing by. And usually that's enough on a cell phone. And this isn't the whole website on mobile, but this is the most people most of the time are going to look at. They're not even going to scroll. Don't give them a reason to scroll. Don't make them dig through and find out what services you offer. Don't make them dig through and find out, that you're not a franchise and that you're like a family owned and operated. Put that right there. If it's important to you and it's important to your avatar or your target customer, make sure that that is pronounced on your website, nice and neat and in the front, right? So the beauty about conversion optimization is it's something that with the beauty and the challenge with it is it's something that you have to test, right? So if you have, let's just say you have 50 people coming to your website. Well, if I said, what if I sent you 50 leads every month? You'd say, holy shit. Yeah. Pardon my French. Yeah. I want those 50 leads. Well, you have 50 potential leads right here coming to your website. So you need to concentrate on converting more of those leads into calls, right? So if you're not getting any and you can just do 2 or 3 little tweaks on your website that may cost you a little bit of money, it may not, depending on what your situation is. And you can convert 3 of those, 3 out of 50. That's killer. I mean, we've had clients get one and turn into a $250,000 fire job, right? That pays for your marketing budget for a few years, right? Put a little money in your pocket and maybe some bonuses for your employees. But that's the principle, right? So a lot of guys want to, and they're not getting the calls. They want to increase traffic to get that volume of leads going up. And what I'm here to say is you need to increase the percentage of conversions, right? And it just makes sense. You want to sell to more people. They're already coming there. So figure out what you need to do. Now, another couple things that you can think about. Video is huge. Video helps convert a lot of traffic. Okay. So if you're savvy enough, and anybody should be, we all have smartphones at this point. I haven't seen many people with the Motorola Razr or the old Nokias that don't have cameras on them. So there's a good chance you have a smartphone or a camera at home. Make a video about yourself. Make a video about your company. Hello, my name is Joe from Joe's Restoration. We're a professional water damage restoration contractor in Dallas, Texas. We're family owned and operated for 25 years, or we're veteran owned and operator, whatever the case may be. Make a video and introduce them to your team. Remember, knowing who your target customer is important. So you address their fears in that video. Hey, we are professional. We're going to leave your home in better shape than it came. We're licensed and insured. We're IICRC certified. We're a member of all these different Chamber of Commerce's. Here's some testimonials for some clients. You're going to alleviate a lot of that, and you're going to help increase conversion just by one little 45-second video that you can put on your homepage. The other places you can put videos is you can make a video for each one of your services. Now, not only will this help convert and build trust and teach, people are more apt to look at a video and watch it versus reading a whole thing about you. But the second largest search engine in the world is YouTube, owned by Google. So the more content, the more omnipresent you are, the better chances you are of getting traffic and converting that traffic into leads. All right. And then you got to take it from there. There's a whole sales process that ends after that. And we're only speaking in terms of the digital side, right? We want to convert those eyeballs into phone calls, and then you take it from there. If you have experience doing sales, you know how to sell your business, you know how to do your thing, and you can build trust, you're going to get those jobs. All right. So make videos, make sure you put the important video information above the fold on your website, and you'll see an increase in conversions. Now, if you do all that, Remember, there's no such thing as a direct response. Like, don't think that I'm saying, hey, move your phone number around, make it clickable, and all of a sudden you're going to get started getting blown up. That's not how it works. This is something that you have to monitor data. You have to be patient. You have to test. It could take a month. It could take 2 months before you make any wholesale changes and make any determination whether this was a worthless podcast to listen to and I'm all wrong. Give it some time and make sure you're monitoring the data. Get in touch with your SEO agency. Get in touch with your web developer and say, here's the plan. I see that you're sending traffic here. We need to build these conversions and come together, right? Treat it, instead of a service, treat it as a collaboration. You're all on the same team. Your agency's there to get you more leads. And if they get you a bunch of leads, you're going to love them and you're going to continue to pay them money to do that. And if you hate them and they're not sending you nothing, you're going to move on to the next guy. So collaborate a little bit, right? Again, it takes 3 to 6 months to a year sometimes to rank on the first page of Google. You have a very competitive industry. So what you can do in the meantime is make sure you're making small tweaks to content, making sure you're putting the proper branding, the proper USPs, making sure you make it really easy for people to get in touch with you, because once those leads start building up and piling up and that traffic starts increasing, you don't want your bounce rate to go up. You want those things to turn into calls. Another way that you can help is, again, speaking of data, monitoring data. A lot of people will say, and we've had this happen to us many times in the past, we're not getting the phone calls. We see you're sending 100 people to my website every month. We have 1,000 keywords on page 1, which, by the way, we're really good at. And we do that. And they're telling us still there's no calls. And I'll go back and we start as a team. We put our heads together and we say, what is going on? They've got all the conversion essentials there. Everything is working. So what we started doing is we started implementing call tracking. And we found, when we dive into it a little bit, that these clients were in fact getting a ton of phone calls generated from the traffic we were putting onto their website, but they were either reaching after business hours and nobody was following up. They were trying to leave a voicemail and the voice message box was full. Somebody answered the phone that wasn't probably the nicest on the phone to the client and they just hung up on them, or they just didn't pick up the phone at all. So the problem isn't a conversion. It's not a traffic issue. It's an internal sales and onboarding and trying to close those leads. So that's something else you need to take account for. So make sure that when these people do call you, you're either, one, asking them how they heard about you, at some point in the sales process. It doesn't have to be this thing, or how did you get my number? that might turn a couple of people off. But make sure you have some sort of process that at least finds out where they came from. Okay. Because a lot of times people will have a pay-per-click vendor, they'll have an SEO guy, they'll have some other guy doing outside sales or something like that. And they're just getting phone calls and they're happy because it's working, but you really don't know where your investments are giving you the best ROI. So just asking is a really easy way to do it. The other thing that we really love to do, and we actually, we almost require it now at this point in my agency, is we implement call tracking. We monitor the calls every month. We give you a breakdown. And this is how many qualified calls came in. Here's how many water calls came in. Here's how many mold calls came in. And then there's no hiding from it. So, conversions, I don't want to say conversions are more important than traffic, because traffic is step one, but you have to get that traffic to turn into phone calls, or the traffic you have there is worthless. All right. So take a look at your website. I implore you to go to Google Page Speed Insights. Take a look at your website, do a scan, check the mobile version out, check the desktop version out, get a plan together, check out your content. One thing, like if you want to get water damage leads or any certain type of ranking you want on Google, you got to make sure you have not only the right content, but enough of it. A lot of you guys out there will have this really nice website. And when you go to our services, you just kind of have a bullet list of what you do. You have a generic, this is what we do. We're property damage restoration in whatever city. And then, we provide XYZ for services. Well, that's not going to do anything. That's so generic that Google really isn't going to, where are they going to file that, right? Maybe you'll go into a property damage just like all the other millions of people that are on the search results. So make sure you have a separate page for each one of your services. That's a good way to start, at least to get those rankings. And I know it doesn't have anything to do with conversions, but it kind of does, because that's a good place to have a hub for your YouTube videos, for client testimonials. Oh, and by the way, client testimonials are a great help for conversions. If you think about when I told you before, put yourself in your customer's shoes. One of the things people are worried about is they're getting ripped off. Jobs aren't getting done on time, or guys are just wrecking their house, or they have some junkie pulling up there and just setting up equipment and leaving. So you can address those fears right away by not saying it yourself, having somebody else say it for you. So if you're doing great work, make sure you're asking for those Google reviews, and make sure those Google reviews populate on your website. All right. Make sure you're making a post and giving some flowers to the people that leave you reviews. Put some before and after of jobs. All of that stuff is common sense. It should be. Hopefully I'm turning on some lights in your head and you're like, yeah, duh, we should be doing this already. And if you're not, start doing it. But remember, don't try to do it all at once. Really take a good long look at your website, take a look at your Google business profile and see what you might be able to do, putting yourself in your customer's shoes. It would make you pick up the phone and call you over your competition. That's it for today. A little bit shorter of an episode. We do have a really cool episode coming up on Monday morning. We've got Jeff Deem from Elkmont Estimates to talk about why you may want to consider outsourcing your estimating. It's a really cool episode. I can't wait to have him on. Tune in on Monday live on YouTube and LinkedIn. And if you want, you can stream a replay on any of the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Play, you name it. I'm there. You cannot escape me. Anyways, thank you for tuning into the Restoration Rundown podcast. Hope you guys have a great day. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.